All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 2, Invention Convention week 2. So we're going to continue with our brainstorming work. We're going to take a slightly different track with it, which I think is really going to drill into the meat of what will be sort of important to our success of solving real problems for real people, or dogs, or other living things. Quick update on the schedule. So first, yes, this is where we are right now, brainstorming and research. Second week of doing brainstorming. We are going to touch on a little bit of research in a couple of ways today. Second piece, March 20th. I don't know if you saw the email today. For those who are on that distribution, tri-district concerts that day. So we're going to figure out another way to do the Invention Convention judging. Our actual convention will not displace the tri-district concert. So we will find another time to do that. I'll sort of query everyone here to make sure that it works for everybody. We won't schedule on a date where people aren't available. Maybe we can do it earlier in the day on the 20th, but we've got some time to figure that out, but we're working that out now. Okay? I want to touch, before we get into the content tonight, I want to touch on the invention logs. So if you look at your, can I borrow this, Alex?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. If you look at your logs, we should be, and you can tell, the checklist, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first section that we're working on right now. That 1, 2, 3, 4 right there, brainstorming and research section. Those first 4 things are so important to get right. You'll also notice that the pages immediately following that checklist, hey Max, are those first 1, 2, 3, 4 items. That's where we should be making sure that we have some record of our progress throughout this process. So if you've been taking notes on a separate sheet, that's fine. You can just glue stick it in there. You could hole punch it and put it into the log. But make sure that you're capturing that and making actual progress on this log. Tonight we should get to that number 4, which is the research piece of this, and that's what we should make sure that we have well in hand. The next set of tasks, we really start to accelerate because we get into the design work. We're going to touch on a lot of cool techniques for doing the design work, for visualizing our ideas, for sketching, and coming up with prototypes and all that stuff. Okay? So we should be using these logs tonight and this weekend. Okay, so any questions before we jump in? Yes?
What if you change your idea?
Yes, that not just something that could happen, something that probably will happen, and that's totally fine. You change your idea, you can just write it on other pieces of paper, hole punch it, and stick it into that section.
We have a notebook.
Yeah, that's great. And you can, I think those notebooks, you'll be able to tear off and then hole punch. Whatever you end up using, you want to make sure it ends up in the book so that you have a comprehensive log of everything that you've worked on, right? That you have that view that you can use to sort of track your progress. It's really important to track that progress that way. Okay? Okay. So when we look at item number 4 on the checklist, it says research, right? And what it's really about is understanding whether or not your invention someone else has already thought of. First, what I would say is just because somebody's already thought of it doesn't mean that it's disqualified. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do that idea, especially if you have a way to improve that idea, or you have a way of serving the sort of the people or the pets, the whoever is going to be using your invention. If you have a way of serving them in a better way, right? That's the important thing. So the research, when they put it into this process, the Invention Convention log, they're talking about it in terms of find out if somebody's already invented it so that you can throw that idea away and go come up with another idea that no one's thought of. I wouldn't think of it that way at all. I would say it's all about understanding how you can improve what's already out there, but you have to be honest with yourself. If you come to the table and you say, I've invented a mat that I can put in front of my door and people can wipe their feet, that has already been invented. That's already done. But if you have an improvement to that, then you'll know that by way of doing that research. So you have to know first what's out there, and that research is important. You have to look at the research and then really say, okay, so I didn't come up with this idea. I'm not the first person to come up with this idea, but here's how I'm going to improve it. And then you have a valid invention. That's the first part of research. The second part of research, and this is where we're really going to spend our time tonight. Go ahead, have a seat wherever you find open spots. There's some spots over here too, and we can grab seats from here. And this front table is available as well. So when we think about the brainstorming processes that we learned last week, so we had mind mapping, right? We had new perspective, so teleport or put yourself backwards or forwards in history, or pretend to be somebody different than you are. And then we had reverse storming. We had these techniques. That was to get the ball rolling, get our ideas out there. What I want to focus on today is another kind of brainstorming and a really important part to your success, and that is understanding your users. Who are the people who are actually going to be using your invention? And getting fully into their perspective. When we think about users, we should start by saying what's their pain point. So if our invention is a basketball practice mat, right? So Sam's working on the basketball practice mat, get his form right. Who are the users of that, right? There are more than one sort of constituency, more than one group of people who we're trying to serve there. We're trying to serve coaches, maybe parents, and we're trying to serve players, right? And as we think about these different users, we have to think about how they relate to each other. We have to think about a lot of different dimensions about who they are. And we have to think about what's in their mind when they're using these things. So that's the exercise that we're going to start with tonight, okay? So when we think about all these users, we have to think about who's the person who's actually going to be buying it? Who's the person who's experiencing the pain? Who's the person who's actually going to be using it, right? If we think about the perspective of the person who's buying it, well, we want to make sure that they understand the value of it and they think, well, I want to buy that for the person who's going to be using it. They're not the same person, okay? So we have to kind of sell it to them. But when we think about the person who's actually going to be using it, if all we did was make something that sells great, well, we sold it, that's great, we made a sale. But if then they don't use it, then the word of mouth is going to be, yeah, we got that thing, but we didn't end up using it. Anyone here have something like that? You thought something was going to be really cool, you bought it, and then you're like, yeah, I did. Yeah, okay, so all hands, right? That's good. So the question is not just how do we trick people into buying something that they don't want or need, right? That's not what we're here to do. We're here to invent something that is useful. The key is build something that the actual person who's going to be using it is going to enjoy using and will actually use. Okay? So let's think about what's in their minds. Let's think about their experience. Here are 5 questions. What's their state of mind? Your users, your people who are going to be using these inventions, what are they thinking about? When do they use this? Right? Is this something that they're supposed to be using first thing in the morning? Right? It's like if you're inventing a snooze button for an alarm clock, I have an alarm clock and the snooze button is this big. And it makes me crazy. I need the snooze button to be like this big. So I can just, why? Because my state of mind first thing in the morning is not, oh, let me hit that tiny little button. It's more like somewhere around here there should be a stop to all this madness, right? So what's their state of mind when they're using this? How often do they use it? Think about that. Is this something they're using every day, every week, once a month, once a quarter, right? Or is it hourly? Is it minute by minute, right? So think about how often they're using it. What's happening right before or after they use it? That can be really helpful, right? If it's, okay, right after I do this thing, I'm going to go eat breakfast. Okay, well, how does that change the way that I create my invention? Where are they when they use it? Are they in their home? Are they at work? Are they on the road? Are they in the car? Think about all these dimensions. And then last but not least, certainly not least, who's around them, right? What is the social dynamic related to their use of your invention? Okay? So what I'd like to start with, we're actually on schedule this time, so good. What I'd like to start with is we should take about 20 minutes. Think about the inventions that we came up with last week. If you have time to go through, if you have multiple inventions, time to go through each one of these questions and write down your answers to them. Think about, talk it through with your adult learner talk through exactly what the answers to each of these questions are as it relates to the people or animals who will be using your invention. Okay? After that, we'll jump into some more nitty-gritty research stuff. Yes, Stephanie?
This is not supposed to be written under number 2 yet, right?
I would think of this as a part of 1, 2, and 3. So what problem are you trying to solve? We're refining our understanding of the problem that we're trying to solve by way of putting ourselves in the shoes of the users. What result are you trying? We're refining our understanding of the result we're trying to achieve and the possible solutions. As we start to understand, and this, like, I know this is just 1, 2, and 3 of 20 steps in this process, far and away the most important part of the process. And if you're going to go back to any steps of the process, go back again and again to 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. Refine, and this is a really good way of putting yourself in the mind of the users and think about, wait, my solution, how does it actually plug in with the way that they really encounter the world? This is a technique of research used, you can think of it as used in science that are called use cases. If we're building applications, this is a kind of application development or programming that is a part of Agile, right? It's a sort of a quick way of building applications and getting them out there that are called user stories. This is like really, this is a part of the real world about how things are built. So use cases, user stories, this is all about designing or sort of thinking about the world of your end users. What is their ecosystem? Where do they live? How do they think about the world? Okay? Good. Any other questions? I saw some hands earlier, but maybe no? Okay. All right, so let's start with these 5 questions, thinking about the inventions we have, using them to refine what we've done so far with 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Good. Everybody, can we I want to share quickly apropos to his invention. Alex had a hard time getting started and focusing, but once he did, he blasted through this. So I wanted to go through quickly, hit these, and give people an opportunity to spend a little bit more time on it, and then do a little bit of sharing to sort of talk about this, and then hit on some other user research. So first, state of mind. Alex, what is the state of mind of the people who are going to use? First, Alex, what's your invention?
So it's this app. So usually
Yeah, but just quickly remind me.
Okay. So it's the app that so like I usually don't stay on task. So they start yelling at me.
No, never.
Guilty. And then so I made this app where it's gonna do songs with his amazing voice and then that's gonna help them stay on track.
Okay, so staying on track. What's the name of it?
It's gonna be called Focus Pocus.
Okay, all right, that's good. All right, so what is the state of mind of your users?
So they're distracted and their parents are yelling at them.
Okay, what's the frequency of use? How many,
4 times a day.
It's very specific.
Or maybe the dishwasher, the shower, brushing their teeth, or getting clothes on.
Okay, what happens before and after?
Their parents start going crazy, and after they finish their task.
They're super happy, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Where are they?
They're in the shower, in their bedroom, in the kitchen, or in the bathroom.
Okay, and who's around them?
Their mom, dad, or sibling.
Cool, easy, yeah? Good. So 2 more pieces of user research. So one category of user research are surveys. So I don't know how many of the kids here have used Google Forms before. Have you used those yet? Some have. Okay. So as a part, all of the kids in the Easton ER9 districts have access to Google Apps for Education. Built into that is the ability to create forms and then to make those forms available to their peers. So if the problem that they're solving is a problem that the other students face in the schools, they could actually create a form and they could share it with all of their friends and they would be able to go on and say, yes, I have that problem, or no, I don't have that problem, or whatever answers, or whatever sort of answers to whatever questions that they're posing. So what I would challenge you is first, surveys are limited in their in how much value they can add. If you're asking questions about people's behavior, what people do, how often they do something, it's pretty frequent, it's pretty common that people don't actually know the answers to those questions, or that they, when they answer those questions, they don't answer them, I don't want to say dishonestly, I don't want to say that they answer them dishonestly, but they don't report in a way that helps you get to the right answer. So when you think about questions you would ask in a survey, it should be very, very simple information. So Alex has 3 survey questions, and I would recommend that everybody write down 3 survey questions. Here are his. How often do you get off track? Okay, so that's probably not going to lead us to the most accurate answer. The kinds of people who are likely to be off track are the kinds of people who aren't going to bother answering your survey. You're not going to have a high percentage of people answering the survey, and the kinds of people who are going to get off track aren't necessarily going to be good at tracking how often they get off track. So not going to answer that necessarily in an accurate way. What will they use it for? That one I think they will, right? Oh yeah, I always need help with this, this, and this, and this. So answering that one would be helpful. And then last but not least, what will they use it on? What devices do you have available to you? Now that's one where people, it's kind of black and white. It's not a matter of giving an opinion. It's I have an Alexa, I have an iPhone, I have an iPad, and so the answers to those questions would be helpful. So I would think about, are there survey questions you could ask that would help you get to some better understanding of your users? Secondly, there are 2 kinds of observational research that can be helpful. So observational research in the form of watching people in their native environments. So are there opportunities to observe people, watch them work as they're facing this problem, and learn from that? And then the second is in the laboratory setting. In a laboratory setting, you can control the environment. You can put something, so you can have somebody sit down at your kitchen table and put something in front of them and say, I'd like for you to interact with this and tell me how you're experiencing this. So creating a laboratory setting to understand what their experience is. So if we can spend just a few minutes thinking about, are there opportunities for us to do survey questions and survey our peers? And if so, how will you use that? And then secondly, is there a place to observe people, whether it's in their natural environment or in a laboratory? Okay, so let's think through that stuff. You can do this on the 2nd and 3rd pages. Yes?
So are you saying that optimally you should only be asking 3 questions in a survey? Or
no, you can ask more questions. 15 questions is way too many.
Right.
I'm thinking of 3 as a magic number for kids who are going to be distracted, trying to optimize the number of people who are going to answer this, who are right in our target demographic. But no, 5, 10 questions is fine as long as they're well written and sort of quick. Yes, Stephanie.
Do the kids in the past, when the school ran it, have the opportunity to actually create a laboratory where they can, let's say, kids with tongue depressors, where they can set up a little shop with different stuff?
Unfortunately not, right? This is actually not part, this user research part of it is from my own experiences in sort of my work and how valuable that is to building a product that actually serves the needs of your end users. This part of it is nowhere in the curriculum for Invention Convention, but it should be. Yes?
Surveys or research part of your final presentation to the judges?
Yeah, for sure. And what usually happens, what I've seen when I've judged the Invention Convention in years past, is that it'll be tacked on to the end. So then we did a survey to see how many people thought my idea was amazing. And 100% of people said it was amazing. And it's like, well, that's not really useful, right? Like, let's get to the more useful user research. So people have used it in the past, but it's rarely used as a really meaningful tool in the processes of inventing it. And when it is, it's crystal clear. I think we have an inventor with us who did very well last year, who did exactly that, really understood the end user, And when you build around an end user, that's a product that's going to go, a long way. Cool. Okay. Cool. All right. So survey opportunities, and then real-world observations and laboratories. Think about those things, and then we'll jump to our last part for today. Okay, so we only have about 23 minutes left, and I want to leave time for people to be able to share some of the work that they've done. So last piece of research, and now we're talking about the research that's actually a part of the Invention Convention curriculum in step 4. It's how we're going to know whether or not this thing already exists and where it matters and how that can help us in designing a better invention of our own. So first, the obvious things. I think, in a world pre-Google, right, the research was hard, right? Like you would go to a library and you would look through books and it was crazy, or encyclopedias. I love that you even know that encyclopedias once existed. But searching on Google is going to be the first thing that everyone thinks to do. But there are other places where you can go to get even more interesting insights about what might already exist or what people have done. So think about Amazon. Think about reading reviews for products that are similar or try to address the same problems that you're trying to address. Go broader than that and think about an even bigger marketplace like Alibaba.
What's Alibaba?
Alibaba is like exactly, Chinese Amazon. That's the exact right way to describe it. If you're building something that has an app component to it, go to the App Store. There are probably 1 million apps that have been created, similar to the app that you're trying to create, and go read the reviews for those. See what people think about them, where people like them and don't like them. Go to YouTube. If somebody's created anything like this, sometimes people have built like a PVC pipe version of this thing that's not something you'd buy in a store, but they've got this kind of interesting approach to it. Go watch their YouTube videos, see how they made it. Think about how you might improve that. If you're building something for a pet, go check out Petco's website, right? Go check out places where you can, sort of buy those types of things. Think about that, and again, read the reviews. If you have the opportunity to actually go to Petco and look at that thing that is in the same category or trying to solve the same problems that you solve for, go there. Go and sort of pick it up, look at it, see what you like about it, what you don't like about it. That'll come through in the judging circle if you're able to talk about. So, yes, some people have tried to do this, and it's not like you're sort of ignorant about some of the ways that people have tried to solve the problem before. You're saying right up front, no, I see that people have tried to do this before. I went and looked at some of the existing solutions, and here's where they aren't good enough for solving the problem. Okay? Questions? So, yeah, go ahead.
We switched our idea and we searched after what we invented already.
Cool.
So we are thinking of how we can improve it still.
Okay, that's awesome. So I would love to hear if you want to share in the last 10 minutes of class. Love to hear sort of what you're switching to. Yes.
What if it's already invented?
It's not that big a deal if it's already invented. If it's already invented and
We were literally thinking of the same exact thing, and then we figured out that the same exact thing of our thing was invented.
it's okay
Same
if you
exact
have
design we were planning on,
if you have an improvement. If you have a way of saying, I get that what they're trying to do is to solve this problem, but they haven't fully solved the problem because they're not thinking about their end users well enough, they're not thinking about the people who are going to be using it, it's totally fine to go after the same kind of invention, but you're gonna address it in a way that you think will be more effective for the people who are going to use it. So it's okay as long as you can come up with an improvement. If you can't, if you say, no, you know what, this is just like the best way to solve this problem, then I would try another invention. Okay, so if you haven't already done it, start making your list of where you're going to research to understand the existence of solutions to this problem already, reading reviews, all that kind of stuff, and then in the last we'll have 9 minutes for that, and then we'll give people an opportunity to share anything you've done tonight, any progress that you've made. We'll go around the class like we did last week.